this. And we're live. Yay!
Nice.
We got there in the end. Good evening, everyone. How are we all?
Good evening. Doing well.
Very
How about
good.
yourself,
Good
Dan?
evening.
Doing
Howdy,
great
howdy.
for this. Doing great for this time of the week. So thanks to everyone in the chat that's already popped in as well. I'll bring you guys up in a second, but I'll just go quickly around the board. We are waiting for a couple more, but they'll come in as soon as they get their chance. So this way we have Dean from All Things 80s, formerly of New York, but soon to be residing in Thailand permanently. So that's a great thing.
Yeah, that's
How are you,
exactly it. And I'm very good, thanks. And I do apologize for the poor lighting. I am using the sister-in-law's guest bedroom, and it's just not good for doing a video, but you can still see me, I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not.
Yeah,
You're doing well, mate. So you're fine.
All right. Okay,
And,
thank you so much.
No worries, no worries. Great to have you on.
Thanks for having
Peter,
me.
how are you, mate?
Yeah, good. Yeah. Represent. Don't do that, Xayzl. Mate. Come on. You did that last time, man.
I
God.
can't help it. I'll behave.
I'm representing New Zealand because Phil's not here. You know, so there we go. That's
You Phil's in the chat, but unfortunately,
so,
he had other commitments. But that's all right. We'll push on without him this time.
It's good to be here.
But it's great to have you, mate, as always, and representing New Zealand. That's fantastic. Scotty Crusher, how are you, my good-looking
G'day. I'm
rooster?
doing well, mate. Excited to be here. Looking forward to talking
Yeah.
some TV shows and just having a good couple of hours with you
Yeah.
blokes.
So, I'm glad to hear it. Now, obviously, it wasn't spelled out 100%, but you can have anything up to 1999 if you want as your TV show. I'm all good with that. All right.
Well,
So,
that's
any of the
2010.
lads that were born in the late 80s that were still in diapers and they don't know what was playing on TV, you can go anything in the 90s. It's totally fine.
Oh, mate, listen, I've got some 80s shows, so if we're sticking to 80s, I can do that. But
Yeah, I mean,
I thought
look,
about 80s
the good thing
90s.
about TV is that there's always reruns, right? So
Very
anything that
true.
even happened in the 70s was shown in the 80s and so forth
Very
and so on. You know
There's
what I
a
mean?
loophole.
They're still showing MASH to this day, and that came out in the 70s, you know what I mean? So,
So you're not going to be a stickler for the rules.
no, mate. Whatever is your childhood television is what counts. And same for everyone. Yeah.
No worries at all.
You know,
Should be-
This is a class act of a stream anyway, so we can
That's
just
right.
roll with it.
Sounds like a plan.
And Sizdog in the lovely state of Victoria, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Ed, mate. Thanks for having me tonight. Really looking forward to chatting with everyone, getting involved with all things nostalgic, and what better way than talking about our favourite 80s and 90s TV shows. And there's Darth Maul.
That's it. And
With
there's
the
Darth Maul. I'm glad to have you, mate. So honoured to have you on, to be honest with you. Nostalgia Button is something I've been following for a while. Obviously, you didn't know me as Aussie Blue Snaggletooth until it was all too late, but that's my COVID Instagram account.
The COVID Instagram account. Oh, my
Well,
God.
no, it wasn't that. It's not, I couldn't get Ed5. I might be able to extend it out now and change it, but there's too many people that were subscribed that I don't want to screw that up, you know.
That's it, man. Well, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
No, pleasure, mate, pleasure. And we've got all the way from the USA and Canada on a worldwide trip. It's the fantastic Xayzl. How are you, mate?
Now we know it's a little known secret, or maybe it's a well known secret, that whenever a Kiwi makes it big, we sort of claim them as our own. And so, with that in mind, I'm here representing Phil also because he can't be here tonight.
Yeah.
So shout out to Phil. Treasures for Trigger. He's the real treasure.
Treasures for Trigger is a legend, and I've seen him in the chat. We'll bring him up in a second.
Phil, you're not really Australian, okay? Don't worry. He's Australian.
He's our Tokyo counterpart and the man from the Earthquake City, so it's all good. Nate Dogg, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. After all my technical dramas, I'm here.
Yeah, no, you've done well. You've done well. Thank you so much for coming on. It's great to be able to have you as part of the stream as well. I saw you on Motu Tuesday for the first time and subbed here from there. So, yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. And hashtag Stealthy Boy, that's his nickname. Brilliant. And rounding out the chat, we've got Darth Muzzler. How are you, mate?
Good, thanks, mate. How's everyone?
Hey, buddy.
Good, mate.
So glad that you could come back. Yeah, I mean, you were working the last time we had a stream, but that's all right. I told you we'd get you back in there.
Yeah, I don't flat out.
Just making an entrance, hey?
Fashionably
Just
late.
making an entrance. Rolling in just a couple of minutes late. It's all good, mate.
All right. And so we're still waiting for Matt, but that's all right. We'll probably kick off about him. But just to quickly touch on the chat, we've got Darth Rock, g'day mate, in New Zealand. We have Monkey Boys Toys. So the UK has started to join us. Thank you so much for dropping in, Monkey Boys. We've got Reading Movies. G'day, mate. How are you? There he is. Good on you, Phil. Looking forward to this. Classified. Cat Classified. She's a legend now, Classified. Moving down. Who else we got? Hello, Jewel. How are you?
Jewel.
Hey, Jewel.
Yeah.
Jewel, 9.
Jewel is doing great, and she's about to get her Webster, which is even better. We've got usual Mike in the chat. G'day, Mike. And Plastic Power. How are you going? Thank you for coming in and joining us. That's fantastic.
G'day.
So we've got 19 in the chat. If you get a chance, smash the like, and we'll go for. Oh, and the Kaz show, local Port Augustian. How are you, mate? And Vader's girl. G'day, Kat. How are you?
Yeah.
And we've got the Taylors.
G'day, guys.
Sarah, whoever's watching. And Kimberly as well. G'day, Kimberly. Alrighty. So anyway, we're talking anything from that you brought up as a kid and watched in the 80s or 90s. But yeah, it can span from 1980 right through to 1999 and anything in between. So I guess what I might do is I'll kick it off. So my number 5 for the 80s, well, I actually had to change it because there was a show that I had, which, like I said, it technically came out in 78, but I watched it as growing up as a kid, and that's a show that was called Monkey Magic. Now, a lot of people in the States wouldn't know what Monkey Magic was, but yeah, Tripitaka, Pigsy, Sandy, and Monkey, the Monkey King God himself, Japanese dub TV show, which was predominantly aired on ABC TV. watched that religiously as a kid, and I absolutely loved it. So I know it was in the UK as well. So, Dean, did you ever see Monkey Magic?
Absolutely. It was
Yeah.
broadcast on BBC Two in the UK. And, I've not seen the show since the 80s, but my one memory of that was he would kind of go like, and his cloud would appear, and he would ride on that cloud. Am I right?
That's exactly right. Yep, that's
Yep.
right. And he had the
Loved it.
magic monkey staff, and it would grow massively, and he knocked people out.
Don't put sticks in your ears, kids.
It ran for actually two seasons, so it actually probably finished. So if it started in 78, it probably finished in 79, 1980. But they did try and reboot it in the later 2000s, which actually filmed and produced out of New Zealand. One season only, and wasn't the greatest. It wasn't sort of it kept true to like the characters, but the story was sort of totally different from what I remember as a kid. But my number 5 is Monkey Magic.
Well, see, when I watched that as a kid, I never knew if the main like heroine was a boy or a girl.
Well, Tripitaka was, technically it was a monk. Okay, so it's male, but it was played by a female.
Wow.
The actual actor
It was a confusing crush, I'll give you that.
It was, yeah.
Was a female.
It was a bird, yeah. Yeah, the Lobot look.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, no, it was played by a female, even though it was a male
character. There you go.
Yeah,
before their time.
So before their time, yeah. All right, so we'll go around the board. So, Dean, you're up next. What do you got?
All right, so my number 5 pick is Top of the Pops, which was the weekly music show from the UK, which I think it began in the 60s and ran until not too long ago. But that was the show that really introduced me to music. And a couple of quick memories of that show. It would have been 1981 was the first time I ever heard Adam and the Ants. And they played the video for Stand and Deliver. And as a young, I'm guessing 7-year-old kid, I was just mesmerized by this sort of highwayman character smashing through the church windows, robbing all these rich people. But the music kicked ass. And as a result, my very first album was The Prince Charming on cassette that I got for Christmas in 81. Following on from that, I probably watched almost every episode of Top of the Pops. This was broadcast on a Thursday evening. And in 1982, Motorhead performed a new single, Iron Fist. I thought, this is amazing. And the first album I ever bought with my own money was the Iron Fist album, again on cassette. So that show is the show that really got me into music. And it's just been such a wonderful experience. Ed, I'm sure you'll appreciate the fact that Iron Maiden did perform in 1980. They mimed Running Free on Top of the Pops.
Beautiful, yeah. I mean, I know of Top of the Pops, obviously, because apart from, obviously, Maiden, my second love in the 80s was the beautiful Samantha Fox. So, yeah. Touch Me and all that. It was good times.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, I'm old enough to remember watching Top of the Pops in the very late 70s. So I was exposed to ABBA, the Bee Gees, the Village People, all that stuff.
Yep.
And then from just watching it every week, I began to understand what music I liked, what I didn't like. And just a wonderful time as a kid, knowing that every Thursday, Top of the Pops was coming on. And I think at their peak, there were about 20 million people tuning in from the UK to watch this show. It was massive.
Well, so Chris, Darth Muzzle will remember because he's a similar vintage to me. So Molly Meldrum had virtually a similar sort of Top of the Pop thing in Australia called Countdown, and that launched people like In Excess, Midnight Oil, like all the Rose Tattoo, all all those sort of bands in the late, coming out of the 70s and into the 80s. So Countdown ran from, it would have been early 70s, if not late 60s also, and went right through to early 80s, again on ABC TV. But Molly Meldrum launched so many bands internationally because of Countdown as well. Legend of a guy, even though he's been disgracing himself lately with people like Elton John and stuff like that, pulling his wang out on stage and all that sort of stuff at the last Elton John concert. But Countdown. And another thing we had over here, which is still running to this day, which was sort of started by the Triple J, which was Rage. So another music show played late at night on ABC TV, and pretty much when it first started, ran all through the night, so you could listen to music all night type thing, and had all the latest and greatest stuff. Thank you, Mike. Countdown ran from 74 to 86, so there you go. Yeah.
Now I've got Rage going through my head, that little promo thing.
And Iggy Pop screaming at the end,
Get up at like 5:30 in the morning. You're like, why is the TV yelling at me?
That's it. My ears are bleeding, especially if you've got a hangover. That's even worse,
Now, I remember charging into the living room as a really young kid, trying to hit record on the VCR when the music videos that I was waiting to come on came on, and Rage was great.
So Molly also sort of introduced people like Adam Ant and stuff like that to Australia through Countdown as well. So like bands like Duran Duran and Adam Ant and ABBA and all sorts of stuff would actually show up on Countdown as well. So we were exposed to the rest of the world music through Countdown TV show as well. So it's basically the Australian version of Top of the Pops, if you wanted to put it that way. So, but great times, great music. What's not to love? You know what I mean? So, but solid pick for your number. Is that your number 5, obviously? So, Peter, what do you got, mate?
Before I add put my number 5, that we had a video show called Ready to Roll.
Rob Vegas, how are you, mate?
So Ready to Roll was like a Ready to Roll. It was just called Ready to Roll. It's just like a video show. It wasn't like a what Dean just said. It's just like a. But we had the Commodores theme introducing it, and then we would go. It would run with famous songs like Elton John or Cliff Richard or anything like that. So it's like a top 10 or top 20.
Yeah.
So we had that here when I was growing up. So okay, my top number 5 is Blackadder series. Can't beat Blackadder, can't beat Rowan Atkinson and all those funny guys. Rowan Atkinson's came off 9 o'clock news, of course, which I loved as well. And the first season was great. It was on location, most of it, on a real castle. But it went through the 80s. Everybody knows Blackadder. The last one was Blackadder Goes Forth, but he did another one after that as well with no
G'day, Enzo.
Crowd love.
Looks like a rock star. Did you remember how long that went for, Pete? Or was that just predominantly 80s, or did it start in the 70s as well?
No, I don't think it did start in the 70s. It was probably started in the in the beginning of the 80s and went through to mainly I'm guessing here, guys, probably 86, 87, maybe.
Did you ever get MTV? Did you ever get MTV show in New Zealand?
Yep.
Yeah. So obviously we had MTV in the later part of the 80s here, and being me in country New South Wales, we only had 2 stations to choose from, so there wasn't a real lot of stuff to go off of. But I do remember, when Countdown finished and Rage was still going, but then MTV was a big thing as well. So, but that's cool. All right, Scotty, what do you got for us, mate?
So I've just got a bunch of different shows, and they're probably interchangeable in terms of order, because normally what happens is when we have this many people is we'll have overlap, so I like to have some extras. But for number 5 for me, I'll throw out the early 90s sitcom Dinosaurs that Jim Henson was involved
Oh,
with.
yeah.
Was around for a few seasons and just combined that awesome family sitcom, daily family dynamics. The boss is crushing his balls and he's worried about his kid and whatever, with the
Not
awesome
the mama.
creature effects, with the awesome creature effects that you normally wouldn't get on that format of a TV show. So I just thought it was great.
Yeah, definitely.
Really
it was
enjoyed
like I would class it as like the live action version of the Flintstones, if you want.
Absolutely, yeah. It was. That's a great way to look at it, and it's the kind of show that I've actually not watched since it would have been on telly. In maybe like 92, 93. I've not seen it since then. It's the kind of show that I definitely like to have a crack at, sitting down and watching through and seeing how it holds up. But from what I've read, it's actually got kind of like a fairly heavy ending. When they all wrapped it up. And they kind of address some climate issues that didn't exactly agree with dinosaurs, and it's one that I'd love to have another crack at.
Yeah,
it's on Disney Plus at the moment, actually.
Is it
Disney Plus?
Yeah.
There you go.
I remember watching that. Yeah, I do remember watching that in the 90s. That was a great show. Like I said, the baby hitting the dad in the head, going, "Not the mama, not the mama."
Yeah. So good.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's my 5.
All right. I'll just having a look at what Matt said to me. Sis, you're up, man. What do you got for me?
Well, yeah, number 5 for me. I kind of changed it throughout the day because I wasn't sure like what order we were going to go in, and then I started thinking like, well, I've kind of taken the approach of like the 90s shows that I'm going to choose are basically like my favorite teenage 90s shows, not my childhood 90s shows, because I feel like I rewatched them a lot more than the shows that I chose like to watch in the 80s. So my first one, I might be cheating a little bit, but it is a weekly episodic show. And when I was into it, it was when I was in my late teens. And that's, of course, the WWF. Raw is war, baby.
Nice one.
Yes.
That definitely counts.
Oh, 100%.
That was on my list too. Yeah.
There you go. So it had everything a hot-blooded teenage male would want in a TV show. It had hot ladies. It had trash-talking blokes, spectacle and amazing big characters. And it really I just remember watching it so often with my brother. And like, I have distinct memories of, we had like one of those workout machines, the ones that like with the pulley system and stuff. And
the Four Station.
Yes, the Four Station one. So we would do a little workout, and then we'd get the bottle of water, and we'd try to do like the big Triple H,
do the Triple H thing. Oh, that's awesome.
But, blowing it into the pool. Even for my 21st, my brother came as Mankind, and he rolled in a shopping trolley with all this like chairs and like I think he got like metal trays, but they're just out of aluminium, and he hit me over the head with it for my 21st speech.
That's so good.
Yeah, nice. Wrestling has always been a big part of my upbringing. So that was my number 5.
Nice. I'm just going to have a look at some comments in the chat. So we've got Home Improvement, big in the 90s. Tim Taylor and launched Pamela Anderson into the stratosphere, and then she went on to Baywatch. Enzo's got here Legends of Hidden Temple. Now, I'm not familiar with that. Does anyone else know that?
No. That does sound familiar. I think it was a oh no, wait, maybe I'm thinking of that Lost City of Gold one. No?
Yeah.
I think it's Do you got any of you guys remember the '90s kids game show called Amazing? Any of you guys remember that?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I do.
I
do.
think
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think the hidden what's it called? Legends of the Hidden Temple is
Temple.
kind of like
Yeah.
that. I think
Okay.
Like
So it's a
Double
big
Dare.
game show-ish, but for kids.
yeah, for kids. But with cool like crazy sets and awesome stuff. I think so because in fact I think this Enzo and I might have been talking about this some time back. Because he was asking if I could be getting my wires crossed here, but that's what I'm thinking it might be.
Yeah. No, that's all right.
If only we had something
yeah,
on
well,
Google.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah,
right?
there you go. Mike's come to the rescue
yeah.
again.
On your mic.
Phil likes the bit of it's his dog. So we've got Little
Thanks,
Hidden
Phil.
Temple with Nickelodeon. Okay. Yeah, see, I was sort of already chasing girls and stuff when Nickelodeon was a thing. So, but yeah, Mike also thumbs up for what was it? Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
Still running from the 90s. So
Nice.
On your mic.
Mike's a legend. He's my backup. He's my go-to guy. Monkey Boys Toys has put in Quantum Leap. Yeah, that was a great show. Late 80s, early 90s, or was it just early 90s? I think. But anyway, moving on. Xayzl, what do you got, sir?
I'm cheating a little bit with the date because I'm almost certain it started in 77, but I didn't catch on to it until the 80s, and then we were watching it almost religiously when it was on TV, and that's The Incredible Hulk.
Yes.
Very big in the 80s in my household.
Yeah,
in fact,
same.
I was almost certain it was an 80s show until I had a look, and it said something in the 70s.
Yeah.
I was like, well, that explains the shirts, I guess, fine.
Again, it's still relevant, mate, because it was rerun in the 80s. So if we watched it in the 80s, that's when it was. So
I think that's my only cheat pick. But the thing about, I was a big comic book reader in the 80s and into the 90s. Make mine Marvel. I was a Marvel fanboy. And when it was like introduced as David Banner, I was like, now that's just weird. But then they retconned it in the comic to make him Bruce David Banner. I was like, all right, I'm back on board now. We're all good. But the Lou Ferrigno, who's still going strong to this day, the late, great Bill Bixby, it was just one of those great episodic shows that you went away at the end of it feeling, you felt good that he did something good, but also sad because he had to keep continuing on in his way. And it was one of those shows that very rarely had a two-parter. It was all just episodic stuff. And some people because I watched it with my kids when they were very young, and they were like, "When's the Hulk going to come out?" I was like, "He's coming. He's coming." Sometimes he comes out early, sometimes he comes out late, but whenever he does, it's an event. But that's my pick. The Incredible Hulk.
The Ballad of the Lonely Man. Ballad of the Lonely Man.
Yeah,
Right
so
out.
The Incredible Hulk ran from 78 to 83. Thank you, Mike, again. You're awesome.
Yes.
And
Thanks,
I just
Mike.
want to also say hello to Lucky Luke Reynolds of Reviews. How are you, mate? And yeah, great to see you in the chat. Nate, how are you, mate? What do you got for me?
My number 5 is the ABC comedy Mother and Son.
Yes, love it.
Love that show. Yeah,
it's actually one of my earliest memories. Is sitting in like my parents' van while my brothers were in a kids group thing, and we were just we had a little battery powered black and white TV on the dash. So mum and dad are in the front seats, and I'm peering over the back of the seat. And we're all watching Mother and Son.
Yeah, I've actually got the box set of that. That's a great show, great series. Yeah,
I feel so bad for him. That's
fantastic stuff. Yeah, I'm having to deal with that on a daily basis. That sort of doddery old person in the next room, so it's a thing. That's a great pick, mate. Something go, Mike to the rescue again. 84 to 94. So ran for 10.
On you, buddy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yep. So that's well and truly between the 80s and 90s wheelhouse. Muzza, what do you got for me, mate?
Well, my first off, it'd probably be just before 80, but I remember watching it in the 80s.
Yep.
With the whole family on a Saturday night. Where are you going to be? Watching Hey Hey, It's Saturday.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Got him, Red.
Got him, Red.
Yeah, just good time. Sitting around the family.
And if you don't know that line, it's out of the castle.
Castle every Saturday night at our house.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Epic
it's
pick.
could you class it as one of the first reality TV shows because they had
Nah, variety
people
TV, mate.
doing
Yeah, variety.
Yeah, there you go.
But a
Variety
real
TV.
to me, like variety TV is like a real lost art. Maybe in like the UK, they certain late shows and stuff. But like Hey Hey, It's Saturday just had everything. You know what I mean? And it was the kind of show that I never remember sitting down to watch. But it's almost like in the background of my whole childhood. You know, Saturday night, because you're not going anywhere when you're a kid on a Saturday night. You know.
The great Aussie joke, Huck a Duck. You had Dickie Knee popping up out of the blue.
Aussie Ostrich.
Just to watch the this is why I think this is such a great pick, because it didn't even occur to me that this could be a possibility. So thank you for picking Hey Hey Saturday, because when you look at some of the clips now on YouTube or Facebook, and you see the reaction of the guests, like the Hollywood stars that would sometimes show up, and then all of a sudden a puppet pops up, and you just see people like Sylvester Stallone or whoever, like just looking down at this miserable looking thing of a puppet and going, what kind of show is this?
Yeah.
Well, basically, it was a hat on top of a stick with a bit of hair sticking out the back of it, and you only saw the back of it. So, like, this was Dickie Knee, for example, right?
Yeah, that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Summers.
Yeah.
Aussie.
Put a hat on, Scott, and turn around.
I actually think it's more Pete, to be honest, with the hat and the curls.
Oh, true.
Yeah, because he did. He had that curly sort of locks like Pete's got down his neck. Yeah, that was cool. That's good.
Sorry, I missed that. I wasn't listening.
So the TV show Hey Hey. So
yeah, no, I was listening. I was just lying.
Okay.
So we got it here. We got it here.
Oh, did?
I say that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember,
right.
I remember waking up and watching it over here in New Zealand. So, yeah, we got all the shows from Australia to UK to America to anywhere. So we all had it really. Only 3 channels or 2 channels, we still had them all. So even Coronation Street.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah, well, we had that here as well. You know, up there with The Young and the Restless and Home and Away and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, so I've got a show which came out. It was a sci-fi show, technically. It came out in 1983, and the younger generation may not know this, but Dee might know it. It was a show called Manimal.
Oh, yes.
So
That was Simon McCorkindale, right?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So basically, Manimal could take on the shape and form of several different animals, and he was a bit of a, would you say, crime fighter type thing? Yeah. So, but he could take on the shape of I think it was obviously a falcon. Was it a wolf and a puma?
A panther. I think a black panther.
Yeah, Black Panther. Yeah. But yeah, no, that was a show. Again, it only went for 1 season, but they used to repeat it quite a bit in the early 80s. So I remember watching it quite a bit. But just the transformation was a bit like the American Werewolf in London. That's how he sort of to a bit more of a shit extent, though, because it wasn't quite the CG or graphic effects that the American Werewolf in London pulled off. But for a TV show in the 80s, it was quite good.
Yeah, it was.
And yeah, here we go. Had some great scenes, great changing. So I'm not the only one that remembers it, which is a good thing. 83. So only for 1 season. 83
Yeah,
to
and
83.
then Monkey
Left
Boy
and right.
mentions
Man, Mike,
he could also be a snake.
Yeah, there you go. So Monkey Boys has pulled that up. So yeah. And I just saw here Gap has shown up. G'day, Gap. How are you?
There you go.
Gap After Dark is in the house. Yeah, Perfect Strangers. That was with Valky Bartokamu, wasn't it?
Yeah. Bronson Big.
Yeah.
Had that actor in it that was in Beverly Hills Cop when he goes into the art gallery in.
That's the one. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
$5,000. Yeah. So good.
Yeah, that's Valky. That's him. Yeah. Good call. And Sci-Fi's in the chat. G'day, mate. Monkey is my number 5 pick, but awesome show. Awesome stuff. But yeah, great to see you in the chat. That's fantastic. All right, so Dean, what do you got up next, sir?
Okay, so for number 4, it was another show that began in the 70s and ran till the mid-80s. It was a sitcom based in a department store called Are You Being Served?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, as a kid watching it in the 80s, I enjoyed the kind of slapstick humor. Having watched it again recently as an adult, I really did enjoy the innuendo. Especially Mrs. Slocum and her pussy. It's just fantastic stuff. And obviously, a lot of the humor that was used back then simply could not be broadcast in this day and age. It's nice to be able to sit down and watch something that is so un-PC, but so well written and so funny. So yeah, that is my number 4 pick.
Are you free, Mr. Humphreys? I'm free.
Yeah, Mr. Humphreys, yeah.
And the fact that you got pussy on YouTube now is fantastic. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff.
Also, I should just add real quick. Also, it's so nice to go back and watch those episodes because I remember as a kid being taken to department stores very similar to that one. And to see the way the stores are set up, it's just like a real trip back in time. It's just wonderful.
There you go. Are You Being Served ran from 72 to 85.
Yeah.
And thank you again, Mike. It was an amazing show. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, again, shows like that, you can still watch it even to this day and get a good laugh out of it.
Yeah.
It's just a timeless classic type thing. So, and, you know, like Phil just said here, speaking married with children, again, so incorrect in our day and age, but yeah, a fantastic show nonetheless. Yeah. Pete, what do you got?
Simon and Simon. Private Eye Investigation. 2 brothers in San Diego, kind of like they're undercover private eyes, and they always put on disguises and stuff like that. Great, funny. Gerald McCraney in it. But they did an episode with Magnum PI as well. Very funny 1980s. Ran from 1981 to 1983. There you go, Mike. I got there before you
did. Brilliant stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, I loved it. So that's my 4th pick. So
good stuff.
Yeah.
The name sounds familiar. I'm just trying to picture it in my head, though.
Yeah, here you go. Here you go.
That does look familiar.
Hang on, let me move.
Which one's Simon?
Simon and Simon, the Dead Brothers. So you've got Rick and AJ Simon. So Rick's the one with the hat on. Rick's one with the hat on, and AJ is the blonde-haired guy, Parker Stevenson.
Yep.
So
looks a little bit familiar. And how many seasons does that run for? You know,
that is the last season, final season. So they went for about, I think, 7 seasons. Just shy off Magnum PI's 8 seasons. So yeah.
So Simon and Simon ran from 81 to 89. Okay, thanks.
Oh, well, I got it wrong. So it was about what? It's 3 digits.
156,
Yeah.
156 episodes, and he's never heard of it. Yeah. And we have David Samuel Blaine in the house. G'day, mate. How are you?
G'day, David.
G'day, David.
Hey, David.
And Kaz has mentioned Red Dwarf, which is also a fantastic
The
show.
dwarf. Yes.
Yes.
Good one.
Yes. All right, Scotty, what do you got next?
So for my next one, I'm actually going to throw one in that I'm going to, obviously Pete mentioned Blackadder, and when I think of Rowan Atkinson, the show that I watched a lot as a kid and loved is Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
And that was very much like a family show for us. Like, you know, that's like a show that I remember specifically me and my brother together watching it, or me and my parents and my brother watching it. We had VHS tapes floating around, and yeah, just love Mr. Bean, and holds up well to this day. Like, there's nothing that's kind of on the nose to look back at that stuff now that I can remember anyway. The Merry Christmas Mr. Bean is something that gets a run every year at Christmas time here. So yeah, just a really solid show that I've watched a lot through the early 90s.
Surprises me how few episodes they have of Mr. Bean.
Yeah. That's right. Because I remember watching it heaps as a kid, but there wasn't that many episodes.
No, it blew my mind when I looked it up.
3 or 4
British comedy.
movies?
British comedy is always quality over quantity.
Definitely.
Always.
Yep.
And really tight. Like no bullshit. It's it's like a 22-minute episode when you strip out the ads, and it's all.
Yeah. So Ed,
that's it, man.
Ed,
Hardly any.
maybe you can remember when Mr. Bean and Bruce Dickinson did a single together, and they covered Alice Cooper's "I Want to Be Elected."
Okay.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
Google that later on. Yeah, I did not know that. That's awesome.
It was. I think it was for the British Red Nose charity appeal.
Okay,
Well, that's something I'm going to look up later.
And again, going back to my
definitely.
first pick, they were on Top of the Pops doing that together. It's pretty cool.
That is very
Brilliant
cool.
stuff. That is very cool.
My favorite
Cartoon
Mr. Bean
series?
episode was
Like cartoon
the one where
series?
he's trying to get his bathing suit on the beach.
yes.
And he doesn't want to take his clothes off. And he's tucking everything in over the top of his pants.
And like, there's such little dialogue. Like, it's just so much. It's so much physical humor and stuff. It's gold, man. Rowan Atkinson's a straight up boss.
100%.
Two movies from it. 2 movies from it. Cartoon series as well.
Yeah.
And it's just bang.
Yeah, I thought that. I couldn't remember because I was probably confusing it because he did. Definitely 2 movies. But I thought I was thinking of John English as one of the third ones, but that wasn't Mr. Bean.
No.
Yeah.
Do you remember his nemesis in the show?
Oh yeah, the 3-wheeled car.
In the Robin Reliant. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. The actual type of car that was called a Robin Reliant. It's got 3 wheels and notorious for tipping over like that. So
yeah, he's
we used to call those invalid cars. And if you ever look at old football games from the 70s, they were always parked around the pitch because they got like priority seating because I guess the people that drove them didn't have functioning legs or something.
Oh, wow.
Very bizarre.
Yeah, that's it. Actually, because the actual shape of that car, I wondered if they used that as a model for doing the Thunderbird 4, which was a submarine shape, because the front of that car looks very similar to the shape of the Thunderbird 4.
Yeah.
That's the bit
Even Homer Simpson could design a better car than that.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And yeah, obviously, I was going to mention it, but I knew someone had chucked this in the chat. But Fawley Towers,
Solid pick. Solid pick.
Yeah,
John
love that
Cleese,
show.
Great show and timeless. And apparently, talk about being rebooted. Both with John Cleese and his son being obviously Basil Fawlty, playing Basil Fawlty. But obviously Cleese is helping to write it. So that could be quite interesting.
I wonder if he's going to hit the car. I wonder if he's going to hit the car with a branch like he did.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just going off his nana.
To go to the Faulty Towers dinner experience, I highly recommend it. It is.
I missed out on the opportunity, but yeah, apparently that is a fantastic experience. So
it really is good. Yeah, the cast that portray all the characters just nail it. Like I remember they put you in a room and then they usher you into the main dining hall, and then the guy's ticking everyone up. He's like, "Okay, Sirianni," and he looks over to me. He's like, "Oh, didn't have time for a haircut, did we?" You know. And you just see that's exactly what Basil Fawlty would say. You know.
Yeah, definitely. And I wonder if that's where that whole Karen restaurant sort of stemmed from. Because I don't know if you guys have heard of the Karen restaurant chain that was open but now closed. So you go in there and basically everyone from the waiting staff and everyone just throws and hurls abuse at you whilst you're dining. And it's obviously throwing a Karen type thing. But yeah, like they don't care. You know, if they're kids, they'll be effing and jeffing all around them and stuff. And that's a whole immersive dining experience. It's just being abused and obliterated whilst having dinner type things. So I believe there's a lot of them have closed down now. I think there might be still one in Sydney somewhere, and I know that the one in Adelaide is still going, but probably about to close down. So I think they were pretty much in most states during that sort of just after that sort of pandemic period type thing. But yeah, not to everyone's taste to go and get abused while you're having dinner or trying to enjoy a meal type thing. So. And Science just put in here that Mo is supposed to be rebooted again. So there you go. That's pretty.
Yeah,
cool.
I did hear that.
So
yes.
So that's awesome.
Kind is going to be interesting.
Enzo's blown that only 15 episodes of Mr. Bean.
It's crazy.
And yeah, I'm sure this will probably come up by somebody, Monkey Boy. So you're probably right there. All right. Is it Sis? Yeah, Sis.
Yeah. So my pick for number 4, going kind of like what Darth Muzzer was talking about, that light entertainment type show. This show ran for years and years and years, but in the 90s was when I feel it was picked up by Channel 9. I think maybe even Channel 10 had it at one point. And the show I'm talking about is, of course,
another shirt.
The Late Show with David Letterman.
The Late Show. Oh yes, I was recently rewatching this stuff on YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah, that had both the Late Show series as well as the Comedy Company.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So well worth a watch if you want to reminisce about stuff.
100%. And my memories of the Late Show growing up as a teenager was that, yes, it was on late at night, obviously, Late Show on Channel 9. And I feel like it was a perfect little window for Australians to watch what was happening overseas and in entertainment-wise in a really fun way, because we didn't have The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. We didn't have Saturday Night Live. All we had was The Letterman Show. It was like you got to watch a band at the end of the night. There was at least 2 or 3 celebrities, spouting off about their current, project. And you obviously had the comedy legend of David Letterman and a team of writers at his disposal. And it was just so much fun. And it really kind of formed my teenagehood and my adulthood because it was just such a fun show. I just loved it. So, and I actually got to go.
Late night show back in the I think it was the 80s, right? Steve Vizard's late night show, garbage in comparison.
Yes.
I like Steve Vizard. He's a great comedian.
Yeah, I was actually just because I don't know if you remember, but the Late Show, there was an Australian TV comedy show called The Late Show as well, and that launched the working of production guys. So the guys that did The Castle and all those movies. and
Yeah.
like TV shows now like called Utopia and stuff. All those group of people, they started the Late Show, which was
Yes,
a
they
comedy sort of skit thing.
And they had
which
the
actually
Degeneration
stemmed from a show called
before
Full
that.
Frontal, which had Steve Izard in it. So
Yeah, Full Frontal, and they had the Degeneration as well.
Degeneration as well, and that's with Mick Malloy and Tony Martin and all those guys sort of did all their stuff, and all that, and that's what I mean in comedy company, because all that sort of, and that went right through the 80s and into the 90s, and that sort of satire, just great stuff.
Yeah.
But I forgot about the Late Show in America.
Late Show with David Letterman. I'll have one little quick story about it before we
go
over to Xayzl. Yeah. So 2011, Danielle and I went to the States, and we had about 3 or 4 days in New York, and our mission was to try to get tickets to see the Late Show with David Letterman, and we were lucky enough to get tickets, and we got to see. We went all across the globe to go all the way to New York to see the Letterman show, and the guest was Hugh Jackman. We could have seen him down at the fish and chip shop. You know what I mean?
That's brilliant.
That's pretty good.
That's awesome.
But we got to visit Rupert's Deli, and that's where I bought this jumper and a T-shirt and a mug, and we just went hack and just had a great time. So that was my number 4.
Yeah, excellent stuff. So remember watching Letterman episodes where Demi Moore appeared. David Letterman, absolutely love that in his top 10 list.
Yes.
So
guest appearance by Robin Williams was just absolutely fantastic.
Oh, don't forget Drew Barrymore. That was risque for the time. Oh, right.
Yep.
What has she done lately? A lot, actually. She's done a lot. All right.
So Late Show with David Letterman from 82 to 93, and then the Late Show with David Letterman ran from 93 to 2015.
Yeah.
So I didn't know there wasn't actually it was like 2 different shows, but under the same sort of banner.
Yeah, they started off with, I think he started off with CBS, and then he went to NBC, and that's why they changed the name.
That makes sense. Yep. The one man show, Girls Jumping on Trampolines, was awesome.
That's where Jimmy Kimmel got his start. He was the host of the Man Show.
Yeah,
that's correct. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and also he's the guy that he used to do that with. He's no longer with us now, but I forget what his name was.
I know his face in my mind though. Yeah.
Really tall guy. Exactly.
Yeah.
I just want to also put up here. So I mentioned Battlestar Galactica because we have no Andrew and Matt. That won't get mentioned tonight, but it was definitely shown again in the 80s. So thank you for that.
Remember all these talk shows in America stemmed from the Johnny Carson show, and before that was Andy Griffith's show. You've got the from the 70s, so that you've got those talk show hosts, and then you've got the Jimmy Kimmel and Jared Leno fight with the late night talk show fights and bickerings. So you got those kind
correct.
of
and Jerry Springer.
Ellen DeGeneres
also recently passed as well. So
right,
get old when people that you watched in the 80s and 90s are dying off left, right.
Graham Norton show in UK.
Yeah, that's still going. Yep. Xayzl, what do you got, sir?
Well, I'm just sort of interested to see what else Caesar's got for a costume change for his next picks.
I'm imagining his number 3 pick is painted on his bare chest.
It's chest hair. It's shaved into chest hair.
You never know, boys.
But we're going to have to wait and see. We're going to have to look forward to that.
That's it, mate.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, next round.
My next pick, it's also a kind of a bit of a cheat, but everyone in the 80s growing up probably watched it as well, although it came out well before the 80s. And whenever I think of Sunny Days, that are sweeping the clouds away, I think of good old Sesame Street. Now,
Oh, heck yeah.
that might sound like a bit of a weird pick, but if you go back and just look at the Muppet clips with Frank Oz and Jim Henson, they are not dumbing it down for the kids, right? If they're the character of Ernie and Bert, the character of Super Grover, or just the Kermit and Grover skits, there's a lot of adult humor there, which would have engaged the parents enough to sit down and watch it with their kids. Because watching it now, I get a lot, and much to the comments that were made before about going back and watching something with the adult eyes, is that you do catch some subtle innuendo and some subtle jokes that a child wouldn't get. But a dad sitting there watching is going, "Did he just say what I think he said?" So right. Whether it's "Hello everybody" with Super Grover, and he had some weird, like, he not only was he a superhero, but he was also probably one of the best worst. There you go. So he's still running. One of the best worst waiters in the business. He was also a door-to-door salesman trying to sell a toothbrush to Kermit the Frog, earmuffs to Kermit the Frog. So his sunglasses. These are all things that Kermit the Frog did, and his way of fixing that was to put these things on him. And Kermit the Frog had a bit of a temper in Sesame Street too. Like, he was very different to his sort of more passive side in the Muppet Show. Like, he was very quick to anger our good old Kermit the Frog. But that's my pick. It'll be my number 1. It'll also be my 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
But who's counting?
Remember they found out Ernie and Bert were homosexual.
Nobody said that, but losers that would start in trouble. The first trolls. And it's okay if they are, by the way, but they're just. I just want to clarify. It's fine if they are.
Yeah, that's right. 4,633 episodes is what Sesame Street has produced.
I'm still catching up on them. I got a little while to go.
Yeah, I've only gone through the first 1,000.
Yeah.
I'm only up to where Mr. Hooper died.
Yeah, it's tough to keep going after that. You got to give yourself a bit of a breather.
Exactly.
Guy dressed in the big bird suit died, I think.
Carol Spinney?
Yeah.
Was he gone?
I think.
I wonder, he would have probably been a similar size to Peter Mayhew.
No, he just had really long arms.
Because, that was opening and closing the beak. Yeah, fair enough. But what I was going to say before... a lot of those couples were actually married as well in real life, as well as being married on the show type thing. So
there you go.
There you go. Mate,
my number 4 would be the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Ooh, good one.
I was mad on the Power Rangers when I was a kid, but going back and watching them as an adult, it is very nearly unwatchable.
It's tough.
It is very hard to watch. Because I went back, I wanted to watch them and kind of because I just wanted to refresh my mind on the basic gist of the story, and it was this is bloody terrible. But I have found that the trick is to put it on over there while you're focused on something here, so you just kind of get enough storyline through osmosis, and it's a much better show then.
Do you drink much? Are you much of a drinker?
Not these days.
Right, I was going to say maybe that's the key, is that you get shit faced and then watch the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, they used to repurpose footage, didn't it?
Yeah, they recycled the footage from the old Sentai Samurai stuff, and and just brought in the American actors for the parts that he needed them for, and he cobbled together rough storylines and made millions, if not billions, of dollars.
Probably billions. And Yellow Ranger was a boy. He's a boy.
Yeah.
Whenever you see the Yellow Ranger in costume, that's a man in there. That's why it didn't have a skirt.
Yeah, right. But the Pink Ranger was definitely a girl, though, right?
Well, who knows, man? These days,
Well,
you
I
can't
mean,
assume.
we found out that Tributaka was a girl playing a guy, so who knows?
So, Nate, have you got kids, bro?
Nah.
So I never watched Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but my wife loved it. And when the girls, my twin girls, were about 5, it was on Netflix, and Danielle was like, "Let's show them Rangers." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." I was never really into it, and they loved it, and actually got me excited about the show because I was watching it kind of through a child's eyes, and the kids just. So we bought all the toys, and I was become a fan of the IP. And if I didn't have kids, I reckon I would be like you and still not have really. I mean, I know you said you were into it, but rewatching it as an adult is like whatever. But when you've got kids to watch it with, forget about it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Cool. Awesome stuff. All right. Muzza, how we going, mate?
Good one. Another good old Aussie comedy, Kingswood Country.
I knew you were going to say that. That's why I left it well enough alone, mate. Yeah. And I saw that Sci-Fi put it in the chat as well, but I thought, I bet your Muzza's got that one, so I'll just leave it there. That's cool. But yeah, again, so totally politically incorrect now. It would never be shown on free-to-air TV, that's for sure. And I think the only way you probably get it is on DVD because, just so much, things. How do you describe it best? You talk about it, mate. You talk about it. It's your pick.
Yeah, Dan, let Muzza talk about it, man. Come on.
I will.
Coming home from his day at work, and first thing was, "Where's me beer and me paper?"
Yep. And the whole W word and Neville the Concrete Aboriginal.
Multiple things up, namely nuns, or magpies, or something else.
Yeah.
And
and such phrases as
with parents watching that, everyone having a laugh.
Yeah, no, a great show, fantastic, and I could again. That's one of those a bit like Fallen Towers, where realistically it's politically incorrect, but you can still watch it and get a decent laugh, even today. You know what I mean? Just because. Yeah, I won't even go there. Anyway, but that's a good one, mate. I thought you pull that one out, so that's fantastic. So Kingswood Country, thank you, Mike. Ran from the 80s to 84, and a spin-off in 97. I didn't know that. Okay, so that's interesting.
For a very short spin-off.
Right.
I think it was way past time.
Yeah. Cosmic Star is throwing out so many good shows. So there's Cheers, MacGyver, Golden Girls. What else do I see? Keeping Up Appearances. So again, we had a lot of shows going back and forwards to the UK and obviously New Zealand as well that we all grew up on. And it all makes sense. So, all right, back to me. So my number 3. Okay, mate, no worries. My number 3, and we've lost Xayzl for some reason as well. I don't know where he is. But The Greatest American Hero. Yeah. Fantastic show. About a guy who basically aliens give him this superhero and he's got to try and work out how to use the powers as part of a detective agency. And the theme tune, it's sticks in my head like it's a hero type thing. So it had its own theme tune, which was a charting hit back in the 80s as well, which was called Believe It or Not. So by Joey, someone.
Sing it, Dan. Oh.
No. I'm not that good. But yeah, so that's it ran from where did I see it?
Everybody's looking for Mike in the chat.
81. It started in 81 and went till 1983 in February 3rd. There we go. Thanks, Mike. I knew that would come up eventually. Yeah. Monkey Boys also put up here, which is great shows as well. Knight Rider, Street Hawk, and Airwolf. Hopefully Dan hasn't got any of those.
Nope.
Good. All right. So your number 3, please, sir.
Okay, so number 3, again, another show that came out in the 70s and ran through to the 80s. A comedy show called The Two Ronnies.
Yeah.
Now,
Ronnie Corbett.
very much like Are You Being Served, as a kid watching it in the 80s, the slapstick was what I enjoyed. Having rewatched it all again, the writing, the performance is just second to none. And the word genius is often tossed around these days, but those guys were true geniuses. Their wordplay is some of the best comedy you will ever get to witness. And as a very interesting side note, Ronnie Corbett was at the same high school as my dad in the year above in Edinburgh, Scotland.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Wow.
So Ronnie Corbett was a little guy with the glasses.
He was a short one. He was a Scottish one. Ronnie Barker was taller with the white hair.
Yeah, who went on to do shows like Open All Hours, Porridge, those sort of things.
Yep. Exactly.
And Ronnie Corbett did a run-in on extras as well with Ricky Gervais, didn't he, in the toilet?
He did a special with Gervais. I think he did. But also, I think Ronnie Corbett did one. I think his last sketch was based around the term BlackBerry in a fruit shop, but referring to that sort of mobile device.
Yes.
It was pretty bad, really.
Yeah.
It wasn't that good.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah. But for me, again, much like Are You Being Served, when I go back and watch The Two Ronnies, I am transported back in time because as far as my memory serves, The Two Ronnies were broadcast on BBC One on a Friday in the evening. And that was the day my grandma and granddad would come out to visit. And prior to my dad taking them home, we all had to watch The Two Ronnies. So when I watch those old clips on YouTube again, I am in my mind transported back in time, and I can imagine the whole family with me enjoying these amazing comedy sketches. But as I said,
awesome.
as I said, the word genius is often misused, but make no mistake, those guys were two absolute geniuses of comedy.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And again, great memories as a family, sitting down as a family watching that back in the day as well. So no, totally get that. And it's good night from me and it's good night from him. So
Brilliant.
That was the sign off quote.
I think just to quickly go on, I'll keep this very brief.
Yeah,
the fact that not only could they write those sketches, but they could perform those sketches. Yes. Because even reading from a cue card, some of that wordplay is not easy at all. Extremely difficult, but they nailed it each and every time.
Yes.
Especially with the four candles.
Four candles, yes.
Four candles, yes.
Yep.
All right. Well, Pete, you're up next, sir.
I remember the Porridge spin-off. It's on YouTube at the moment when he got out of prison, and that didn't only run about 5, 6, 7 episodes or something like that. It's quite funny. So not as good as the porridge. Anyway, Miami Vice. I gotta get this. Miami Vice. So freeze, Miami Vice. So I had to get that. Pastels. Funny story about this, because when Don Johnson, because they gave him the wardrobe, it was more. I think it was more thicker. It was more. He had more clothes on him. And he says no. He kept on taking them off, and he got this pastel suit because of the weather in Miami. He says it's freaking hot, so that's why he took all his clothes off, and that's how he in a season. But they're awesome. I mean, fast cars, fast women, beautiful women.
What's not to love? What's not to love?
Great story.
Remember it well.
Great story.
They even made a movie of it.
Yeah, which was, but Crockett and Tubbs.
Yes.
It's a good team up and brilliant. I thought it was brilliant. So
and it ran from 84 to 1990.
Had a good run.
It's got it here actually. Yeah. Really? Thanks, Mike.
Mike is just killing it tonight with the years. So,
is that number 3? Is that number 3?
That was number 3, I believe. Yeah.
Indeed.
All right. Xayzl's had to pop out, but so we'll go with Nate next, if you're okay with that, Scott.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's in line, so it makes it easier. Yeah, that's it.
Well, my number 3 was Home Improvement. That was
brilliant.
Jim Allen at his best. Yeah,
I'm watching it now.
I love that show.
Yeah, like there was the whole family would watch Home Improvement, and like every time you'd go out to the shed, you could not help but pick up like the drill, and go, more power.
So good.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Great show. Yeah. And again, the couple of the boys went on to do movies and stuff afterwards, and they all became sort of child stars type thing, and
it was
just petered out. You never heard anything more of them after that type thing. So
and the show went for so long that like those kids were basically like of a similar age to me. So like you were growing up with them as well. So because it went for 8 seasons, I think.
Okay, I think you're probably right.
Oh, Mike's confirmed 91 to 99, so a solid run.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Tim Allen actually did another series called Last Man Standing, and he did it with 3 girls. He did it with 3 girls, you see, 3 females, but they didn't. They chopped and changed the actresses off that show, which is really quite odd. Yeah, so it worked out pretty good because those seasons of Last Man Standing went quite well as well. So
okay, I was meant to check that out, but I never got around to it.
Phil wants to know if that planted the tinker seed in Nate was Home Improvement.
Might have done, but like at that age, I was good at pulling things apart. I was not good at getting them back together.
but that was the case for Tim the Toolman as well, wasn't it? Like it was the comedy was often in his mishaps.
Yeah.
100%.
Awesome show.
All right, Scotty, number 3.
So next up, so being that for all of the 80s, I was a kid. For most of the 90s, I was a kid. So a lot of what I was watching at that time were cartoons, and some stand above the others, which maybe I'll get to for the last couple. But a big part of my childhood was a weekday morning TV show called Agro's Cartoon Connection. I don't know if anyone else remembers this, but it was just a great mix of a lot of fantastic cartoons. Like G.I. Joe was where I first saw G.I. Joe and Agro's Cartoon Connection. Scooby-Doo, Popeye, and then later on it was things like Sailor Moon and Samurai Pizza Cats. So again, like I felt like I was a little bit too old for it at that point.
Pizza Cats.
And then in between all the cartoons, you had the little vignettes from Aggro, and Anne Marie was the host that I remember the most. But I think there was another one as well, or maybe even another couple. But yeah, Aggro's Cartoon Connection was. See, the interesting thing is, like, when you hear from people in the States, it's all about Saturday morning cartoons. For me, weekday morning cartoons were a big thing, and Aggro's Cartoon Connection was where it all came together for me. And it's interesting to think about planting yourself in front of the TV for an hour of a weekday morning before school. But you know, when I was in primary school, we didn't start school until 9:30. I wasn't out the door till 9, so I had plenty of time to sit in front of the tube, you know. So, and Aggro's Cartoon Connection was what I was watching, so had to give it a mention.
Yeah.
Didn't it become Cartoon
so
Network?
it did go to Cartoon Network after Aggro was basically fired because, again, like Xayzl was said with Sesame Street, there was a lot of a sexual innuendo from that little puppet. And he was doing some very naughty things to that girl under the desk. You can guarantee yourself of that.
Yeah, the man behind the puppet was highly inappropriate.
Well, big time. And again, YouTube has some fantastic blooper reels and stuff where Aggro's just running amok type things.
Definitely.
But yeah, Reedy Movies said about so many 80s cartoons were classics and memorable theme tunes. 100%. Yeah, I didn't put any cartoons in, but yeah, there's two that spring to my mind, which I might mention at the end. But then yeah, so Aggro's Cartoon Connection turned over to Cheese TV after Aggro. So
Aggro went up against Cheese TV.
Yeah. So they started with Aggro and then went over to Cheese TV type thing. So yeah. But again, you are right, Scotty. I remember like there was morning TV pretty much every day, including the weekends type thing. So if it wasn't on free to air, it was on sort of the ABC or things like that. So.
Whereas, like nowadays, as an adult, to think about like I'm going to catch like an hour of telly in the morning before I get on with my day, it's just such a foreign concept. It's just one of those constructs of childhood where you just didn't give a shit. Like, you know, what I mean? Someone will tell me when. Someone will not only tell me when I've got to go somewhere, but they'll drive me there. So for now, I'm just going to kick back and watch a few cartoons. It's just the best.
Exactly. And hello to Fisher Co too. Thank you for joining us in the chat. That's fantastic. So
g'day. Over to Sizdog.
Siz, you're up, mate.
Number 3 for the Sizdog. Again, staying in that vein of my teenage years as opposed to my childhood years. This is a show that I always watched when it was on TV, but I didn't seek it out. But whenever it was on, I was just glued to the telly. And it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I got to watch the whole series from back to back with the advent of DVD releases. And that is, of course, Star Trek Voyager. I'm going with because of 7 of 9, of course, that absolute bombshell of a character. Yeah, and also I love Trek. Like as an adult, I got into Trek, but as a teenager, I wasn't a massive fan of it. But that was my was Star Trek Voyager for really enjoying it because of that bombshell character that they had. It was pretty much like, you know, Baywatch in space, having her on the bridge, you know. So yeah, just a lot of fond memories of again late night viewing of Star Trek Voyager. And of course also it was the only one with a female captain, and I thought at the time that was very, very groovy and cool.
Captain Janeway.
95 to 2001. So
who now says she's an admiral now. She's
an Admiral Janeway now. Yes, indeed.
So I know my Star Trek sometimes.
Somebody wants to be taken back to the days where it was great. That's I never got a chance again because I think it was just the hours, the weird hours that I've in my working life. I never saw much after Next Generation of Star Trek. A little bit of Deep Space Nine, but definitely I knew of Voyager, but I'd never seen it type thing. And again, it's just because of the weird hours I've worked as an adult type thing that a lot of TV in the late 90s, even to a couple of years ago, I wouldn't even be able to tell you what was on TV half the time. So, but
yeah, I never really got into I watch a little bit of Next Generation. I never really got into Deep Space Nine at all, but I did enjoy watching Voyager while I was on the tally. But then as an adult, rewatching all these shows, Deep Space Nine is actually my favorite as an adult because it was more had more like adult storylines and stuff like that, which I really enjoyed. But yeah, Deep Space Nine, man, and Quark and freaking that guy.
Quark,
Oh man. Anyway, we could go on forever. Darth Mother,
yeah, that's it.
Number 3. Taken over.
Go, Muzz.
Well, I'm going to lead off from Xayzl and go to Next Generation stuff.
Yes, get in.
As soon as we had our first VHS in the home, that was one of. So as soon as Next Gen came out, I was all over that.
Yeah, definitely.
But,
so, fun fact.
Innuendo. Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, fun fact. One of the only times I ever went to a Star Trek convention was when Next Generation was at its peak, and so the person who was doing the speaking was Lieutenant Michael Dorn. So Worf was doing the speaking, and that was in the Sydney Darling Harbour was the Star Trek convention. So
awesome.
Yeah.
What I like about it is because now they've had Picard season 3, all of them have come back. It's just brilliant. So
yeah,
great.
Yeah.
The third season was, they're old, of course they're older, but it's just another adventure going out to the Borg. To kill the Borg.
I think what was also good about Next Generation, in my opinion, as well, is it was still Gene Roddenberry that was doing a lot of the writing for that series. So it was very much on par with like the Kirk days and stuff like that, because he was the main sort of pen behind the Next Generation for most of it as well. So yeah. Make it so, says Sergeant Slaughter. So yeah, good pick, Chris. All right, so my number 2 is this, which was, I'll actually make myself bigger for this because it is V.
Yeah, V for victory.
Yeah, so this was sort of rebooted in 2009, I believe. Haven't actually seen the reboot, but the original series was very short-lived back in 1984, and just the fact of these lizard people eating rodents on screen and just pulling off their skin to reveal the lizard underneath, just fantastic stuff. And
that freaked me out as a kid, man.
I know, right? I know. But I always wanted those little figurines and the ship that those kids were playing with in one of the episodes, and they never released those toys, which was such a crying shame because that would have been awesome.
I think Mego did release a handful of toys, but it didn't have a massive toy line.
To my understanding, and if Matt or Andrew were here, they'd be able to probably pull it up for us, but they did bring out a doll which you could pull his face off.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Mego. I did have one toy which was a gun, and it had that cool holster. So it actually had a plastic molded holster with like the gun that would go into it. That was my V toy back in the day. But yeah, couldn't watch. So we go. Couldn't watch as a kid. It was past bedtime. But yeah, I remember.
We scared the shit.
And they have brought out Funko Pops. That's correct. I haven't got any of those guys, but there's very little V around. But yeah, everyone's loving
And
the V.
Lobo's Collectibles in Melbourne have done a run of. They're basically customs, but they don't go to a lot of effort. They put the card back on there, and they do. I think they did a run of 100 figures about a year or two ago. So
in a very vintage style, hey.
Yeah. So they basically look like Star Wars toys, but they're
those 5 POA style,
5 POA, 3 3/4 kind of scale, I believe.
You got it. Yeah, you got it.
They look really cool.
Yeah,
they're sick.
But love V, and I do have the original series on DVD somewhere, but couldn't get enough of that back in the day. Another good one, which is talked about here, is the X-Files. Also love that show in the 90s as well. Mulder and Scully, what a great freaking show that was. With a couple of good spin-off movies at the end of it. So
yeah, it had Billy Connolly in one movie, didn't it? I think.
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly right. So yeah, who again isn't doing that good anymore because of his Parkinson's, unfortunately. So fortunate enough to be able to see him before he stopped touring. So great comedian.
Again. I've seen stuff.
He's doing it again, is he?
Yeah, he started started touring again, and actually talking about the funny side of having Parkinson's.
Okay, well that'd be cool.
Yeah, I've seen a few
I hope
things
he comes
pop up on yeah.
It'd be great if he came to Australia again because I love Billy Connolly.
Well, he's got the still kind of Parkinson's disease. He hasn't got the Michael J. Fox because he's two types. So
one of his hands is pretty bad.
Yeah, pretty bad. So
you can see him he tries to sit on it and stuff like that when he's on stage. So LGN was the ones that brought out that the lizard figure.
Yes.
So he was 12 inches tall. It was a decent sized figure.
Yeah.
So cheers Gap for that. Yeah. Apparently there's been knockoffs in other countries done. Dean, what do you got?
All right, so for number 2, now, if you've been following my collecting habits, this won't come as a surprise, but the fact it's number 2 may be a surprise. And we're talking about Batman starring Adam West and Burt Ward. Now, this show obviously premiered in the 60s, but I saw it for the first time in the 80s. And ever since seeing that first episode, that is my Batman. I've watched all the other movies, but my memory as a kid seeing Adam West on the TV screen, that just made such a mark with me. And as a result, I do not collect any Batman merchandise out with the Adam West era, which makes collecting quite easy, actually, because there isn't a whole lot.
But it is a modern line for you, so that's interesting.
It is one modern line I collect from McFarlane, yeah. And also, I should point out as well, being amongst such illustrious company, I was able to get hold of the latest wave from Pop Culture in Australia, sent to Thailand, months in advance of it ever arriving in America.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah.
So
that's one cool thing.
Yeah.
So Batman series obviously ran from 66 to 68, but because it was rebooted in the 80s, and I remember watching it in the 80s, it totally counts.
and this is one of the funniest things. If maybe 5 years ago, if you had asked me what channel in the UK showed Batman, I would have said BBC Two. Turns out it was ITV.
Right.
I was convinced it was a BBC Two show. No, it was on ITV, which meant there must have been commercials in the middle of each episode. But the fact of the matter is that just seeing that as I'm guessing at this point, maybe a 6-7-year-old kid, it just made such a mark on me that I cannot look at Batman in any other scenario. It has to be Adam West.
Yep. It was a great show. Like really good for its time.
Fantastic. It really was.
But
And
sorry, you go.
yeah, but the fact that it was a humorous show, pretty much aimed at kids, but there was that element that adults could enjoy, such as Julie Newmar, you know, the Barbara Gordon Batgirl type, you know, the whole family could enjoy the show. Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm quite lucky in that I am so focused on that one period of Batman, because there are so many Batman toys to collect. But none of that other stuff interests me. So I am purely focused on the 66 series, which makes collecting quite easy and affordable.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you for stopping in, reading movies. Thank you so much for joining us in the chat. That's great. Yeah, the Batman 66 came out in 66 and 68.
Yeah.
The movie came out in the 70s, didn't it? The Bat movie.
No, that came out between season 1 and season 2.
Okay.
So that might possibly have been 66 the movie came out.
Yeah, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I was doing a toy hunt at Go Figure a couple of weeks ago, and they had these modern Batman figures, but they were of the Adam West series. And Batman was wearing board shorts over the top of his costume, and the Joker was wearing board shorts over the top of his. And I'm looking at them, and I'm like, what the are these?
No.
And then a buddy of mine told me it's from an iconic episode, which I'm sure you're about to mention. Yeah.
Yeah, the episode was Surf's Up, Joker's Under, and the Joker challenged Batman to a surf contest.
Yes.
It's fantastic.
And so I'd never seen it. I mean, I remember watching it as a kid, but I didn't remember that specific episode. So I seeked it out on YouTube, and it's absolutely hilarious. They've got the blue screen behind them, and they're just kind of doing this, and that's them surfing, and someone's throwing a bucket of water on them, like they're in the waves. Like, it's just camp, and it's just fun, and
I
can see why you love it.
So you should see the episode where Batman's carrying a bomb. And he's just running around like this. He's trying to find a place where he can chuck it away. He can't because there's people around. And you go, oh my God, where are we?
But no, that was in the movie. And the line was, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. It's brilliant.
Yeah, but see, when you watch that as a kid, because obviously the 80s was full of reruns of that era Batman. Yeah. But when you watch it as a kid, your suspension of disbelief is so much higher than as an adult. So I remember seeing reruns of that show and just kind of getting lost in it and not second guessing anything, and you know, all the campiness and the outlandish plot lines and all the weird effects and stuff. Like, I just remember loving it, you know, just because you don't really overthink it as a kid. You take things at face value, you just enjoy it.
And don't forget, this was the only live action Batman.
Of course, yeah.
There was nothing else.
Yeah, you're not comparing it to anything else.
No. And just as a quick side note, over here in Thailand, I made the most bizarre purchase I ever made. I bought a girl's hairbrush because it features...
Oh, let me make you big, mate.
All right, go ahead. Look at this, a hairbrush. A Batman and Robin hairbrush. Who knew?
Yeah. I've got to say though, there is as an action figure collector, as someone that collects the 80s Kenner Superpowers line, but as someone whose first experience of Batman was the 89 Batman, there is something special about Batman in grey and blue, not in all black. You know what I mean? Whereas all black is really what everybody's just come to accept as the quintessential Batman look. But there is something very cool about that, you know, golden age. Or I'm not much of a comic guy, so I don't know if that's considered golden age or bronze age. But whatever it is, the grey, the blue, it's just awesome.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. G'day, Rich Merrick. Thank you for dropping in.
Good to see you.
Hey, Rich.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for coming in. That's cool. And yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that G-Force is in the house. G'day, G.
Gary.
Gary, yeah. G'day, Gaza. And
Yeah,
keep on collecting, boys, somewhere around. So g'day, Matt and Andrew.
Fellas.
All right. So Peter, number 2, sir. What do you got?
Right. You guys are probably going to have to hum this along with me. All together now. No, don't
The man.
Yes, MacGyver, who hates guns, hates heights, but loves to tinker with science projects and gets everybody out of disasters and crime fighting guy. Canadian, but we won't hold that against him. In the 80s, of course. Brilliant series. I loved it because it was just fun, eventful. He went all around the world, and his boss was named Pete. And you can't beat that, can you?
No, you cannot. Good on you, Peter.
Yeah, it's good. It's really, really good. I mean, everybody loves this. It's iconic. They did a remake of a young fella. It was not bad, not too good either. But hey, you boycott these things, don't you? So yeah,
and then after
Richard Dean Anderson, so.
Yeah, I was going to say, and after MacGyver, Richard Dean Anderson went on to do Stargate, the TV show.
Stargate, yes, yeah.
I've not seen the remake, Pete, but I feel like just the notion of a man that gets out of any pickle with a piece of chewing gum and a paper clip and a couple of other odds and ends and a piece of lint out of his pocket. I feel like if you remake that now with today's technology, it's like the concept doesn't. I mean, mind you, I've not seen the remake, so maybe it's great. I'm not too sure, but.
No, it was all right. It was all right. It was just like it wasn't good as this 80s, 90s version. So, I mean, try it, Scott. Get a piece of lint and a piece of wire and try and find your way out of somewhere difficult.
That's exactly right. What would MacGyver do? Just ask that question.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, also, they had a really funny spin-off called MacGruber. Funny movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
So Phil's favorite episode was with the killer ants in the Amazon.
Yes.
Yeah. Phil, there you go.
That was in season 1, Phil. Season 1. This is season 7. So it went to 7 seasons. So there we go.
Magnum PI was another good show in the 80s, and they're doing a reboot. Reboot MacGyver was 2016 to 2021. Okay. So there you go.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, cheers, Mike. You've been awesome tonight. Thank you so much, mate. Nate, what is your number 2, sir?
Mine is, or it was going to be dinosaurs, but now I'm going to say Third Rock from the Sun.
Third Rock from the Sun.
Third Rock from the Sun, yeah. That is an awesome show and one I used to watch on. Phil Charlton Heston. Third Rock. That was a great show, and who was the younger guy in that show?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. He's been on quite a few movies in the past few years, which have done really well, actually. So, yeah. And a few things like that. John Lithgow. John Lithgow, awesome comedian, but also a fantastic baddie in Cliffhanger. So,
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a great pick, Nate. I love that show. I did remember watching that. And we've got Roswell in the house as well. G'day, Roswell. How are you, mate? Thanks for everyone being in the chat as well. We've had sort of around that 20 mark all night, so that's fantastic. Scotty, how are you, sir?
So I'd be remiss if I don't mention it, just being as how much time I spent planted in front of the TV watching it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 87 animated series that hung around for probably at least 8 years or so. Not that I was still watching it by that point, but, you know, I had to check. My memory is racing home from school and planting myself in front of the telly at 4 p.m. to watch it. I dug out a 1991 TV Week magazine that I picked up at a local collector's fair ages ago. I had to duck off and quickly search for it. And
who's that on the cover, mate? Who's that on the cover?
Rebecca Gibney.
Yeah, Rebecca Gibney. Yeah.
God, she's so young there.
Well, this is April 6th, 1991.
That's
TV
awesome.
Week.
That's freaking awesome.
There's some tremendous ads in here as well. But,
there would be.
So yeah, I wouldn't have guessed this. I would have maybe guessed Channel 10, but yeah, 4 p.m. on Channel 7 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles each week, up against the Super Mario Brothers on 9 and Play School on the ABC. So yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the animated series. Now, interestingly, Mike, it only went for 5 years. I actually thought it might have gone for a bit longer than that. But I recently rewatched the first 2 seasons of it. I'd like to keep going with it just because I collect the vintage figures and I wanted to refresh my memory on some of the introductions of some of those characters in the animated series. So I sat down and watched the first couple of seasons, and I mean, it's a bit silly. It's very different to the Mirage comics, but it's still just a lot of fun to watch. 20-minute episodes, they fly by, and it's just good fun watching.
Yeah, definitely. And do you have any of the physical media of the Turtles cartoon, mate?
I don't. Well, I mean, I kind of do. I got them on. I mean, friends of ours, Monique and Dan, who some of you guys may know, were good enough to just give me the whole series on a USB. But no, I haven't ever got. I got the movies on VHS, not the animated series, and not DVDs or Blu-rays. They have released some awesome sets.
I remember hiring the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the video store with the clamshells.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Those clamshell VHS.
The 4-pack of DVDs and with a cutout mark.
Series?
It's the first 4 seasons.
First 4 seasons. Okay. That's really cool. I mean, I know they did a box set in like a pizza a party wagon, which is pretty cool. They've done some more. They've done some really cool physical media releases. Oh, and Mike's saying that it is 87 to 96. I thought it went for quite a while. So yeah, that sounds, not that I was still watching it in 1996. I'd started high school by that point, but certainly for the up until probably 92, I would have been watching it after school each day. So couldn't not throw it in there.
Very good. I actually thought that would be number 1, but that's okay.
No. There's something else. It wouldn't be right.
All good, mate. All good.
It's right up there.
I just wanted to say hello to Brian. Thank you for dropping in, mate. That's awesome. So the Turtles had 10 seasons with 196 episodes.
Yeah, that's wild.
And Phil says that's a sweet-ass box. So, yeah. Awesome. Sis, what do you got, mate? For your
number 2, yes. So my number 2 pick came out when I was in year 7. I was too young to watch it, but in year 8, when I turned 14, this was completely in my wheelhouse. It was mentioned earlier, and I'm talking about Agent Fox Mulder and Agent Dana Scully.
I was waiting for you to bring that one up, Sis Dog.
Yeah, nice, mate.
This just defined my teenage years. And I'll tell a quick story about the X-Files. I was in year 8 watching it, and my Australian studies teacher, Mr. Didier, I think maybe he was in year 9 actually, he pulled me out of class. And I'm like, oh shit, what have I done? And so he pulled me out of class. He goes, hey Dave, did you tape the X-Files last night? I said, yes, I did, sir. I taped the X-Files, yes. And he goes, someone called me halfway through the show. I missed the ending. Can you lend me the tape?
That's fantastic.
I lent him the tape the next day, and then he got it back to me in next class or whatever. And then a couple of weeks on, I actually missed an episode, and he was taping it, and he, he would trade tapes for a little while, and so yeah, it was just such a fun show, and
so
it just
good,
brings
man.
back. Yeah, early in the
That is
90s.
brilliant, man. That is brilliant. So yeah, 93 to 2002. One of my favorite episodes is one of the really early ones with Toombs.
Eugene Victor Toombs. Yeah, very
Eugene
creepy.
Victor Toombs. Yeah, very, very creepy. And so that's the actor who played Toombs was also the guy that killed Mr. Percival in The Green Mile. What was his name? Percy.
Yes, really creepy actor. Absolutely,
very creepy actor. But yeah, he does the creepy role very well. And yeah, like I said, a couple of great movies. One with Billy Connolly later in the year. Have you got the trading cards, Sis?
I do actually. At the Vintage and Modern Toy Fair, someone was selling Series 1 and Series 2 unopened boxed for $5, not just a pack, but the whole box. So,
nice. That's
I know. I've opened a couple of packets, but I just kind of like that, I can pretend to come into my studio and I'm in a milk bar from 1995 and I can just pick one up.
Yeah, those like sealed packs are nostalgic, but the actual display, like the counter display, the dispenser is just a whole nother level of nostalgia to have that.
100%. Yeah.
I so want a Star Wars one of that, but I've got a Series 1 and 2 complete set of the X-Files cards.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I probably do. They're just all in their packs.
Correct. Yeah, exactly right. I do have some Indiana Jones cards still sealed in their wax paper, and that's sort of the only wax stuff I've still got sealed. But really I love that show
stuff
as well. That's awesome. I just want to put
I was too scared to watch
Voltron.
The truth is out there.
Absolutely. It still is, brother. Absolutely.
Voltron, Defenders of the Earth, was a fantastic cartoon. That's where the 4 lions all make a robot, and brilliant stuff. I love that one, David.
Sorry, Scott, I think I cut you off.
No. I was just saying, I remember watching it early on, maybe 93, 94 when I was still in primary school, and just being it was too much. You know what I mean?
Too scary, man.
Yeah,
there was some very scary stuff in those episodes.
And I was the kind of kid that just in the video store, just looking at the covers of the horror movies was enough to give me nightmares. I love horror stuff now, sci-fi horror stuff now. So but back then, man, I couldn't do it. I was really curious about it. I'd watch it till the next ad break and be like, "Oh, I got to watch something else." It's too much.
Well, to be honest with you, those a lot of those X-Files episodes, some of them were actually based off proper FBI files. So a lot of it was actually case study, and they put that into the show, which is awesome as well. But yeah, that's feeling that you would have had. I had a similar thing watching The Twilight Zone growing up as a kid, you know what I mean? So that same sort of edge of your seat sort of thriller type thing,
without a doubt.
It's very much up there. That's an awesome call, Sis, as well. And I mean, even though none of us have overlapped, obviously the chat's thrown a few things up, which makes it all worthwhile. So that's cool.
Yeah, growing up, I even had in my bedroom, you would open up my clothes cupboard, and on the back of the door, I had a shrine to Gillian Anderson. And it was always really embarrassing when girls came over and I'd have to get a T-shirt out of the cupboard and I'd have to open it real quick and close it because I didn't want to see it.
I missed the opportunity only in the last couple of years because I was watching it was something I watched on Facebook Marketplace, and they had the Mulder and Sully Barbie dolls.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, I didn't think there was that much merch, but I follow an account on Instagram called Musings of an X-Filey, and she found me on Instagram when I did my unboxing of some X-Files figures, And so I followed her account. Oh my God, there is so much X-Files merchandise. Like, it blows my mind. If you're interested in the X-Files, follow her, Musings of an X-File, or Musings of an X-Filer, however she writes it. There's watches and there's wall clocks and posters and the toys, and oh man, this is never ending. And she goes crazy. Like, she's got scripts and stuff. It's just wild.
So one of my collections is not just toys, but I've actually got quite a mass of T-shirts. So I've probably got over 200 different T-shirts. Yeah, and I've definitely got an X-Files T-shirt somewhere. You know what I mean? So
absolutely, you probably do.
Yeah, definitely.
This is
what do you got? Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's the gurney.
I have in my collection.
Yeah. I remember that one. Yeah.
It's awesome, supposed to have like a corpse or a body bag or something.
Yeah, the blue alien inside the body bag, bro.
Yeah. It's the only X-Files thing I've got.
Actually, I'll tell you another one which is similar to that whole X-Files, as well as the Twilight Zone, which was Twin Peaks. I don't know if you guys remember that, but yeah, also a very creepy show back in the day. All right, Muzzer, you're up, mate. What do you got for us this time?
I don't know whether anyone said it or not. Knight Rider.
Oh, yeah.
No, I left that one for you as well. Yep. Tell the guys about Knight Rider, mate.
How did I was into that? Just something on TV. But...
Do you know what Knight Industries or what the kit stand for?
Sorry?
Do you remember what kit stand for? The car?
Knight Industries 2000.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, great show. There was a kit as well as car was the evil car in Knight Rider. So I have both of those in a pretty big scale in my collection. So you can't have kit without car. But yeah,
had the die cast once as a kid and just destroyed them.
Yeah, love it. And I was waiting for Mike. I was trying to pad it out. So yeah, Knight Rider went from 82 to 86. Thank you, Mike. I think they might have was a rumor or something of either a reboot or a movie of Knight Rider coming.
Yeah,
I know that just recently.
It was a reboot. I know they've different car, I think. So
yeah, because I know they've just finished doing a movie with the Fall Guy, which was another big 80s TV show. And they've just been filming it around Sydney, a lot of it. The movie The Fall Guy. Yeah, no worries, Chris.
Low batteries, I have to grab a charger.
All right, mate, no worries. And yeah, so Knight Rider had 90 episodes and 4 seasons, so that's cool. All right, so my number one is actually before I get to my number one, I just want to mention something though, and it's a pity that there aren't more of a 80s TV watching in the group, but Dean may remember, well, Dean will definitely remember this probably, but on ABC TV, so in between, afternoon cartoons, there was a song that used to play a lot, and I heard it recently on the radio, and it just took me right back to me sitting on the floor and watching TV. So basically, it actually came out in the 70s, but it was predominant enough for ABC to play it a lot, and it was done by the lead singer from I won't play the music obviously, but it was the Butterfly Ball, and this film clip used to come in between the cartoons on ABC TV, and the song itself was by Ronnie Dio, who was out of Deep Purple. But yeah, just I heard this song the other day, and it just took me right back to when I was a kid in the 80s. And this was predominant on ABC TV pretty much most afternoons between sort of Banana Man and Mouse or things like that. And yeah, it's just a fantastic thing. The song is also very cool, and there's actually I've got the album as well, so there's a whole array of songs that came along, but this was sort of the main one off that album. It was sung by Ronnie Dio, who's out of Deep Purple. So, but I just wanted to mention that because it's pretty cool, and if you get a chance to check it out on YouTube, check it out. But my number one TV show growing up as a kid is this, The Young Ones. So yeah, wow. Rest in peace to Rick Mayo, but Aidan, Nigel Planner, this guy here, Christopher, as well. Fantastic. Got both the DVDs and the VHS. Ran for I think 12 seasons, but it was all written by Ben Elton, predominantly, and obviously they had a hit song as well with Cliff Richard called "Living Doll," which was a Cliff Richard song back in the 70s, and they rebooted it in the 80s to their version. But yeah, just the slapstick, and the bands that came out on those episodes of that TV show, like Motorhead, Madness, like there was just so many great acts out of the 80s which showed up in The Young Ones, and fantastic stuff. Do any of you guys, apart from Dean and Muzzer, remember The Young Ones?
I remember that. I remember the song called Ace of Spades. Ace of Spades.
Yes.
When they played in their living room.
Correct.
They just handed it to them, and it just says Ace of Spades, Ace of Spades.
Dr. Martin's Boots.
Yes, that's all right.
Dr. Martin's Boots.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. And
I remember when they were in the apartment, one of the other characters would always yell and go, "Vivian!" like this. My daughter's actually named Vivian, and before we named her Vivian, we were like, "That's the perfect way to say her name when she's in trouble."
That's right, exactly. Brilliant show, and just so much nostalgia for me. And
it always freaked me out as a kid because they had all those piercings in their face.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But it was all a little bit sort of dark humor as well. Like, in the first episode, because Vivian's a medical student, he brings home this severed leg, which is wrapped up, and he's going to just mount it to the bottom of his car type thing as a hood on it. And just weird crap like that. You know what I mean?
So weird.
Yeah, very weird.
Vivian on the landing halfway up the stairs, they ask him, like, what's a good thing for a hangover, Mike? And he said, drinking heavily the night before.
Yeah, that's right. And just things like when they're digging for oil in the basement, and then just Vivian gets his pick through the back of the head, and he's got a rock on one side and a pick through his head where he's been headbutting the ground, and
Neil sneezing all the time, puts himself in a big bag, and he can't stop sneezing, comes all out green. The green snot. This is so funny.
When Neil had it was bath night, and Neil was always last.
Neil was the last one in the bath.
Just a bath,
and it was just a chocolate brown.
And all of a sudden he goes, "I've found my bike."
Pulls the bike out of the bath. Yep. No, definitely. But it's a bit dated now, but it's still worth it. Still can get a laugh out of it.
But that stemmed off from Bottom. That stemmed off from Bottom with Aid.
No, the other way around. Bottom came after Young Ones.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Those guys teamed up again to do Bottom.
Filthy Rich and Cat Flap.
That's right.
Filthy Rich and Cat Flap were between Bottom and Bottom was pretty much the last thing that Rick Mayo did. Before he died, after Blackadder and stuff like that as well. So
Drop Dead Fred.
Drop Dead Fred. Yeah,
I used to love that movie.
Yes. Yeah. So keep on collecting. His top 5 is number 5, Monkey. Number 4, Doctor Who. Number 3, Tales of the Golden Monkey. I wonder if that's a reboot of Monkey.
No, that was Tales of the Golden Monkey. The guy he flew a seaplane.
Oh, I did too. Yeah.
Okay.
He was like an Indiana Jones style character.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's also got Master Universe as a cartoon and The Greatest American Hero, which is awesome. And then, Phil was just mentioning that the young ones were superb. And the young ones went for 12 episodes from 82 to 84. So, yeah. Anyway, so that's my number 1. So, Dean.
Okay, so my number 1, and I suspect this might go over everyone's head, so I'll give you some clues. It was a British game show based around the game of darts.
Okay.
No one?
No, not me.
Oh, man. Okay, it was a show called Bullseye. And it was a general knowledge quiz whereby partners came on the show. One player played darts, one answered questions. And the reason this is my number 1 pick is this is the most quintessential 80s show you will ever watch on YouTube, based on 1, the audience, 2, the contestants, and 3, the prizes on offer. This is just such a throwback to a much simpler time. And it was a very simple British show where you had one guy throw a dart to try and find the category of questions. Gotcha. And the person, his partner, would answer the question and win £30 if they were lucky. But the highlight of the show was what they called Bully's Prize Board, where they had a dartboard set up with 8 segments and 1 bullseye. And in each segment was a prize. And these were the cheapest, tackiest prizes you ever saw in your life. But from watching it back again, and trust me on this, I watched this show maybe once or twice a week. I watched the reruns on YouTube. I see things that my parents used to own. I saw my first ever music center. I saw the washing machine my mom had. And it just takes me right back.
Yeah.
But bearing in mind, back in the 80s, darts was very much a pub game. Yeah. And the whole show, even the intro segment, is a cartoon based in a pub of blokes playing darts with busty barmaids serving pints of beer. It's as 80s as it gets. But my memory of that show was that on a Sunday when it was broadcast on ITV around about 5 p.m., my dad was off with his mates playing golf. So me and my mom would sit down and watch Bullseye. And since I discovered every episode is out there on YouTube, I am just been indulging myself on a trip down memory lane and watching a much simpler time, seeing a more civilized contestant appear on a game show, and the prizes, whilst very tacky, bring back so many great memories. So I urge you all, if you can, go onto YouTube and search Bullseye UK Game Show. You will not be disappointed.
Okay, so yeah, Rozov remembers Bullseye. Mike said Bullseye ran from 81 to 95, and they had a reboot in 2006. So
absolutely,
it sounds like the TV show equivalent of comfort food, like a lot of these 80s shows are. You know, they hark back to that simpler time, and there's no hard hitting stuff. It's just it just puts a smile on your face.
Yeah, and the best part was the host, Jim Bowen, he would drop a ton of innuendo on the show. And bearing in mind, this was like 5 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon. It was fantastic.
So it wasn't exactly after the kids went to bed. That's awesome.
Not at all. Then Andrew, you had him at Busty Barmaid. So Andrew is the other half of Keep On Collecting, just so you know as well.
You bet.
That is awesome. But yeah, I do remember their comment as well. So I don't remember seeing Bullseye here, but I do remember Pot Black, which is snooker.
Very similar show.
Billiards type thing, yeah.
Yep.
Snooker.
Yep.
Yeah, it was actually more billiards because it's got the solid color balls rather than with the eights and all that sort of stuff. But you're right.
Yeah, snooker.
Yeah. All right, Pete. Snooker is with your number one, mate. Go for it.
Well, I'm glad no one actually picked this because this is my all-time favorite. When I was younger, is I've got that Magnum PI, the original Magnum PI.
There you go.
The man with the moustache, iconic moustache. The Ferrari, fantastic. TC, Rick, Higgins, you name it. Two Dobermans always attacking him. Fantastic. I grew up with a lot of PI TV series or police TV series, you know, along the line of Hill Street Blues to Cagney and Lacey. I love those kind of things. So it's this, and again, this is one of my favorites. Always has been. To the theme song that changed in season, I think 2, changed the theme song, and Tom Selleck made a start on the Rockford Files. Then he switched over to this, to Hawaii, went to Hawaii. Actually, I did boycott the remake. Don't watch it, anybody. What's this?
And obviously, Tom, the Ferrari Testarossa was probably on par, but probably just below the Lamborghini Countach is the most desirable car of the 80s. So, they're both iconic sports cars.
Testarossas aged a bit better than the Countach, but yeah, both of them adorned many a childhood bedroom in poster form.
I remember watching Magnum PI a little bit as a kid, but I mainly remember Tom Selleck from like a made-for-TV movie called An Innocent Man, where he goes to... Do you remember this, Pete?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, who goes to jail.
Yeah, goes to jail. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I remember watching that a lot. It must have just been on TV all the time. It was weird.
Great movie. Great movie.
Yeah, it was good. Great movie, yeah.
I mean, with Runaway as well. Runaway, another sci-fi film. He auditioned for Indiana Jones, but didn't get it because he was under contract for Magnum PI. So he couldn't get out of there. He did High Road to China, which is a great, fantastic 1920s movie. And have you seen it? Great, fantastic.
Yeah, he's a good actor.
Yep, awesome actor. Yeah. And he does reverse mortgages. If anybody wants to know.
Thank you, Mike, for doing what you did, mate.
Cheers, Mike.
Yeah, cheers, Mike. You have to get some rest, mate. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're all about to turn into pumpkins, buddy. We're almost there.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. What were you going to say, Sis? Sorry.
I know. I didn't hear the last thing that Pete said about Tom Selleck. He was something.
Yeah, he did a series of reverse mortgages ads that because I think he's Republican and he gets the shit taken out of him because they're so funny and really odd. So
they're like strange political ads.
Well, not political, but reverse mortgages because it's you're gonna have to be there kind of thing. I think they'll just take the piss out of them because it's just I mean, I don't know what the deal is because I don't think he's Republican, but the thing is that it doesn't really matter. I mean, I don't want to get political here, but he just takes the piss out of doing reverse mortgages for some reason. I don't know. I just wanted to add that. So yeah.
There you go.
Fair enough.
Interesting
Let's
character.
move on. Let's move on. So,
Nate, what's your number 2, son?
Number one.
Number one. Shit, yes.
Is the TV series based on the Paul Jennings books Around the Twist.
Yes.
Have you ever
I
felt like this?
do remember that. Where was that? Comic Star, I think, mentioned that Around the Twist.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It was just it was out there. I don't think you could actually make a show like that anymore. Like, I think I've heard that they were thinking about rebooting it or something, but you just couldn't do the amount of weird stuff that they did and get away with it these days. I was reminded recently of an episode where, like, the kid Bronson gets a fish in his penis and it helps him swim fast.
What the hell?
You can't do that anymore.
You're making that up. It wasn't an episode.
What the hell?
Yeah, it's like,
Why
but
would
it
that
was
make
that
you feel
weird
better?
show, like, because it was just like Paul Jennings had so many of these books. He had these episodes that were like, some of them were just funny, some were like really creepy. You just and some just really weird.
That's fantastic.
Like every 8 came out of his nose as soft serve. Just
That's why it was called Round the Twist. Yeah, it was twisted. It was twisted.
Yeah, and it made me want to live in a lighthouse.
Yeah. That's it.
Not so much these days. I have a bad back.
You couldn't cope with the stairs, mate.
No.
Brilliant. Scotty, we'll go with you, mate, because it's already.
Sorry, I mucked up the order. I couldn't tell.
It's all good, mate.
I couldn't tell if it was me that was freezing or if it was you guys, so I just had to refresh. But
no.
So I'll give you my number one. There's only one choice for this. Before I do, I've got to give you my least favorite show because I couldn't help but glance through this TV Week magazine and see something that made me chuckle. So as a kid, in fact, Xayzl, I think you were maybe into wrestling more so as a teenager. For me, I was big time into wrestling from the age of maybe 8 years old to like 11 years old.
Right.
And when I was at the younger end of that spectrum, I'd be home, during school holidays with my mum, and she'd be watching the classic soap, The Young and the Restless. And for whatever reason, I just had it in my mind, like, where are the wrestlers? I'd sit down I'd watch it every time it came on, and every episode I'd be disappointed because there was no wrestlers.
It's like perfect kid mentality.
Fully, the young and the wrestlers.
Yeah. Where were they, mate?
So with that out of the way, my favorite show, my favorite childhood show, my favorite show right through the 90s, a show that's still around to this day, but is certainly by no means my favorite in terms of what they're doing, in recent seasons, is The Simpsons. I'm staggered that it hasn't. I mean, it's come up in the chat a few times. Cosmic Star mentioned it,
yes.
And I was hoping that I could get to my number one without it coming up, without overlap. But yeah, The Simpsons. I mean, just an incredible show. We spoke before about shows that are designed to target that are tailored to a child-aged audience, but there's plenty in there that you can go back and watch some of these old episodes as an adult and think, oh, well, I didn't even pick up on that at the time. You can enjoy it, as a kid. You can watch it again as an adult and take something a little bit different from it. All the different pop culture references, the guest stars, the amazing legend that the show has earned itself for predicting things. It's just a tapestry of pop culture, and it's just incredible. I mean, particularly the 90s era, 1989, I think it might have kicked off. But again, Mike would correct me there if I'm wrong, if he was still
all right.
here.
So I've done Mike's job for him because he's gone to bed now. So it's still obviously running. Started in 1989.
89.
35 seasons it's gone for.
Yeah.
35 seasons.
But
yep.
see, to me, all the way up to season 10 it's on point.
Yeah.
What's your favorite episode?
Oh, dude, it's hard to give you one, man. The one that's coming to mind at the moment's Homer being the beer baron. I love that episode.
Yeah.
When Springfield has prohibition of alcohol and he's in the basement brewing booze in bathtubs and sending it to Moe's Tavern in bowling balls. The cool thing about it though was I remember as a kid loving The Simpsons. I also remember as a teenager being maybe like a late teenager, early 20s, being hungover. And if you had Foxtel, which we had cable, we didn't have cable TV till I was a teenager. You'd have the Super Simpsons Saturday or Super Simpsons Sunday marathons from like 9 a.m. till midday on like a Saturday
on
and
Fox
Sunday.
8 or whatever. Yeah,
and it would just be the perfect thing to be dusty on the couch and watching. So yeah, The Simpsons is great.
Yeah, my favorite episode of The Simpsons was the monorail episode.
Oh, heck yeah. Monorail.
Yeah. And I was actually watching something on YouTube recently, and the monorail episode, it was something to do with Conan O'Brien, and that he wrote a lot of the gags and had a lot to do with that episode because he was a writer on The Simpsons in that time before he was on late night. So, yeah, such history in that show.
For sure. So that's my number one.
Yeah, for those in the other parts of the world, so Foxtel or Ozstar, which is what it was in the country, is the equivalent of Sky TV in the UK, or obviously cable TV, because that was one of the first sort of streaming things where you pay for a subscription, you get a set-top box, and only if you've got that set-top box can you see these shows type thing. So, but now The Simpsons is all over Disney Plus anyway, so
I think
it's all good. You can watch it there.
I think somebody mentioned this because it started with the Tracy Ullman show in just cartoon form. So,
Nate, thanks for being on, mate. So, yeah, no drama. Thank you for coming on and being with us. We're not too far from wrapping up.
Good hanging out with you, mate.
Thank you, Nate. Cheers. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I think Si mentioned about the Tracy Ullman show with Simpsons as well, so that's cool. But then obviously Simpsons went into Futurama after that, so yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Muzzle, we'll go over you next. Because, there's only two to go. No, you can go next, mate. We'll keep it on.
Probably known as something else in England, but Prisoner, Cell Block 8.
Oh, Prisoner! Oh my God! What a spin out, man! About the women's prison, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably not. I probably was too young to be watching it, but I think my parents were trying to scare me straight or something.
Prisoner, what a spin out!
Well, isn't Orange the New Black or something a Prisoner, American version of Prisoner anyway?
Pretty much.
Am I wrong in saying that?
It's a lot more comedy-ish. It's a lot more. It's got a little bit more humor than Prisoner did. Prisoner there was a little bit more, a lot more vibe. So,
hang on, but did they recently reboot Prisoner as well, like a more sort of modern version?
Yeah, they did a modern version of it. Oh my!
Wow.
Now, did Cell Block H have actors and actresses that have been on to appear in Neighbours?
Is that right?
Yeah, a few of them.
A few of them, okay.
But
Wow.
What was it? It ran from.
So I'm just looking it up as well. So Prisoner Cell Block H was the original TV series, right?
79.
Yeah. 79 it started, went for 7 seasons, and the final episode was that can't be 11th December 86 was the final episode. So 79 to 86.
Yeah.
Went for 7 years. Yep. So, but yeah, there you go.
It was definitely on like past bedtime, and I remember if I had to go up to get a glass of water or something from mum and dad and Prisoner was on, I would always be like, oh, I don't want to watch that, you know, because I was way too little to be watching people getting shivved in the shower and shit, you know.
Was it a Netflix reboot?
I think you're right, mate. I think it definitely was, Muzz. I do remember something about that. I was just trying to find it.
No, so my question was, Orange is the New Black. Did that feature Captain Janeway in a lead role?
Oh, did it really?
I think it may have done.
I never watched that show, so I'm not sure. But
So that was Kate Mulgrew, right?
Yeah, Kate Mulgrew. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me research.
Yeah, now you've got me interested. I might have to watch that show.
I reckon you're right as well, because I think it's gone on Netflix. Just trying to find it.
Yeah.
Well, it keeps bringing up a Cell Block H.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, there she. Oh, gee, she looks like a bad bitch there. My God.
Hang on, let me.
No, I don't think I want to watch. I don't want to watch that. I want to keep her vision in my head as a handsome woman.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, keep from the iron, from the steam iron.
The best show about nothing in Seinfeld also have Robin and Sherwood married with children. WWF superstars and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Nice stuff, Phil. Good stuff. Yeah, some mind-blowing stuff from my memory there, especially Robin and Sherwood. What does Matt say? Prisoner. We're still watching Mr. Squiggle back then. Mr. Squiggle was a kids show with a marionette puppet that had a pencil in his nose, and he used to have a bit of an outline or something, and then he'd turn it into a picture. And that's where the phrase spacewalk time came from. So she was nasty in Orange is the New Black. So maybe that is a spin-off of the original Prisoner TV show. But American
influence from it, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Honourable Aussie 80s mentions Paul Hogan's show, and Acropolis Now. I put those shows in case one of the other lads had said it, but we didn't get a full contingency tonight, but it's still fine. Thank you for mentioning it, Pishico, and thanks again for coming on, man. That's awesome. Sis, you're up, mate. Let's round this out and wrap this up.
Well, my number one, again, staying with the 90s teenage years for Sis, this show I just remember watching on TV, and I remember seeing it in my year 12 year, because that's when it actually, I graduated the year it finished. And in the show I'm talking about, Phil actually stole my thunder, is Seinfeld. Absolute favorite TV show in the 90s, hands down. I've got the coffee table book edition of the DVDs in the main house.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And yeah, I just absolutely just love comedy and sitcoms, and this is just the ultimate. You know, the writing with Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld was just perfect. And then you obviously had that amazing ensemble cast with Jason Alexander, Michael Richards, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus. And then the offshoot of that obviously is Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is still going. I think there's going to be a new season this year or next year, which is just that awesome humor of Larry David. But nothing for me screams 90s nostalgia more than Seinfeld. Absolutely.
Yeah. My favorite episode of all time is the Soup Nazi. So I love that episode. But yeah, there's so many good ones. I've just been recently rewatching.
I love the episode where George has the bed built in his desk at work. Because it's the dream, you know.
Yeah, and the alarm starts going off, and Steinbrenner thinks it's a bomb, so he gets a robot. to chop his desk in half. Oh, it's so good.
Mine's
So
Kramer was playing golf on the beach.
Oh, the whale.
And the whale gets in his blowhole.
The blowhole, yeah.
And George,
It was a hole in one.
In the whales.
Because George is a marine biologist and he has to go out and retrieve.
No,
fix the
if
whale.
you check out G4's comment regarding the shrinkage in the pool, classic line.
Yes.
Ah, so good. My favorite episode is when George becomes he gets the job with the Yankees, and Jerry becomes even Steven, and Elaine becomes George. She loses her job, and George gets his dream job, and he just does it all by trying everything the opposite.
Oh yeah.
It's just it's one of those episodes where like the beginning and the middle and the end just match up perfectly, and they were just masters of that, of having those 2 or 3 storylines, and they're all just kind of being interwoven, and the end that you just get a great payoff. And that's what I still love about Curb, because Larry David's just the master of putting those little storyline points in the show and then having them pay off at the end in a great comedic perfect way. So
the show about nothing. The show about nothing.
Exactly. The show about nothing.
So
that's it.
Interesting little tidbit. So as far as my understanding of this whole people sort of marching and who make TVs and movie shows and all that sort of stuff, is that things like Seinfeld and Friends and all those sort of shows prior to streaming services coming out, even to this day, they still get a trailing residual income, right?
Yeah.
And that's why all these protests and stuff are happening, is because they're getting like cents to the dollar, if anything at all, for stuff that just goes straight to streaming services and stuff like that. And that's why, you cast the Friends and Seinfelds and stuff like that, they're still getting residual income of millions of dollars, mind you, each year, coming back to them just because of these shows and what was written into the original contracts and stuff like that. So I find that quite fascinating.
Same thing with the music industry as well. It's all on these streaming services, and unless you're on the radio selling a lot of tickets to your concerts, you're not getting much coin. But oh man, how about the contest where they all try to abstain from masturbating? And Kramer just comes in after half an hour and goes, "I'm out." It's such a good show. Try doing that in 2023. Good.
I know, right? Yeah. That's it.
I actually love the episode where they couldn't find the car in the car park.
Oh, they're walking around the car. That was actually one of the first episodes, I reckon, in the first season.
Very early seasons,
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're coming up to 2 hours 30. I just want to probably start wrapping this up, but we've had a great night. Sorry, thanks again to both Nate and Xayzl for being part of the stream, even though you couldn't stay for the whole thing. I'll just quickly go around. Dean, do you have any? I know you've been demonetized, but are you still? And obviously, you're putting videos out for Patreon. Apart from maybe another stream of me, for example, is there anything coming up on your channel?
Probably not. The whole thing is ridiculous. I think YouTube is really on the downslide right now. They are going after so many channels. Every day on Twitter, I see another comment, "Oh, I've been demonetized." I guess that they just don't want to share the money with everyone who does the effort. So as things stand, I'm currently only on Patreon, but I may have to put out videos publicly because, bearing in mind, to be monetized, you need 4,000 view hours for the last year. And whilst I'm still okay, every day goes by, it drops. So maybe I'll put more videos out there, but the whole situation is quite terrible, to be honest. And listen, kids, if it can happen to me, it can happen to you. So there you go.
Exactly.
I'm not even monetized yet, so I'm still making them for free, bro.
Okay.
But it's still so good for you to be on and with us and on the same time zone now, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's so Ed, it's so great because previously I could never watch this stuff because I'm still fast asleep in America. So to be here in Thailand on a very similar time zone is an absolute blessing. So I'm so happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
No worries. We'll do something. You and I will do something again soon.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Pete, anything for you, mate? Do you have any content coming up?
Yes, the two pommies have been put on ice, sadly. So you won't see that again for quite some time. I look forward to that. But that was a good show, but a good run. Had a good run. What else is going to go on? Well, I think we're starting up a new group with a couple of other people just talking about toys and what have you. That's coming soon.
There you go. Yep.
And I've got Nude Talk with JJ himself coming up on Saturday for me. I haven't really got a guest get up yet because everybody's on holidays. I'm doing a stream called I'm Getting Older on the 28th of July.
See, Razov enjoyed the two pommies, Pete, so there you go.
Yeah, sorry.
I enjoyed it as well.
Yeah.
Scotty, how about yourself?
Well, I've got a video dropping tomorrow. Look, to pick up on what Dean said, it's dropping tomorrow, assuming the benevolent YouTube overlords don't have an issue with gameplay footage, because it's a Super Nintendo video. I'm talking about some of my favorite games of my childhood. I've got lots of gameplay footage in there. Assuming, and I've not done anything along those lines before, so assuming there's no dramas with that, that'll go out tomorrow. And I'm not going to premiere that. I'm just going to drop that when it's ready.
It shouldn't be because Tiers does all these game videos. So
yeah, well, I'm hoping it's not. I mean, plenty of people stream retro video games through emulators online. So yeah, I'm hoping there's no dramas, mate. And I won't bore you guys with the details, but I've minimized the actual sound. I've used copyright-free music and just kept it to. But again, I mean, these things are weird. I wish I had free reign to be able to do whatever I wanted, but again, obviously, there's limitations there. So I won't get into that. Hoping to drop that tomorrow, and then I've got a bunch of other stuff to share, Mighty Max stuff, and I want to do a collection room tour and just keep rocking and rolling. So yeah, that's me. That's the next thing that I'm really working on. And Dan, thanks for having me. Dean, great to meet you, and
likewise,
and great to chat with you blokes that I've had the pleasure of speaking with before. So it was just a fun night, mate. So thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming in. As always, a pleasure, Scotty.
No worries.
Muzza, hopefully one day you'll get a YouTube channel soon. Do you have anything on Instagram you've been putting out there, or not really?
Not much on Insta. I'm doing some diorama build at the moment.
Nice.
But it's late Saturday night, Sunday morning. Top Gun modelling school with Realm.
Awesome. Okay. Are you on that, are you?
Last 2 Saturday nights.
Oh, brilliant. I'll have to get caught up on that, man. I didn't actually know you were on that. So.
It's about
I
think
cool.
It's 1 o'clock in the morning here.
Yeah, right. Oh, it's only 12:30 for me, so I can still watch it live.
Yeah.
Because I'm on the Lego studs, obviously, and I will show up this week on the Lego
studs. Very simple, very chill, mellow, hang out.
Yeah, definitely. Nice. And that's awesome. And I really hope we get a room tour of your new rooms one day soon.
Yeah, and hopefully there'll be some stuff in here. Instead of over there.
You go.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Have they just come to Australia now at Zing, have they?
Yeah. Actually, it was about a week or two ago. Came in, but yeah, I only picked it up today.
Nice. I'll have to go and hunt one of those down. Sis Dog, what about yourself, mate? Oh, g'day, Paul.
G'day, Paul. Scout Trooper helmet,
G'day,
nice.
Paul. Yeah, excellent.
Thanks for joining us there at the end, brother. So I've got 3 videos in the can at the moment. So I'm going to start editing one tomorrow, and it'll drop on Friday. I've got a toy hunt at Aaron's Collectibles coming up. Cool. I've never featured their store on my channel before because they're out in Blackburn. It's a little bit of a hike for me, but yeah, that'll be coming up. I'm not sure if it'll be this Friday, but it'll be one of the 3 weeks. I also have another toy hunt video with Matt from Keep On Collecting. He was just here last weekend. So we went to Go Figure, and we also went to Lobo's Collectibles. So I'll be releasing a little joint toy hunt with Maddie, which was really great. So that'll be really fun. And I also have another toy hunt with my stand-up comedian buddy, John Burgos. Me and him, we went to the Camberwell Market on the hunt for toys. I wasn't sure how many toy stalls there would be, but there was actually surprisingly quite a few. So I picked up a few little treasures there at the Camberwell Market. And so, yeah, 3 videos coming up. And I really am hoping to do a toy room tour of a guy who's pretty local to me, a guy called Billy, who has a very extensive toy collection. I'm hoping to reach out to him in the next month and hopefully get that out soon as well. So, yeah, a few things coming up on Nostalgia Button.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Look forward to that video with you and Matt. That's going to be great.
It was a real blast, man. Absolutely.
For sure.
That is going to be killer. And g'day, Connor. Thank you for coming in. We are wrapping up. Thanks to everyone for being in the chat. Thanks to all my fantastic guests. First time some of you being here. I will make sure that all links for these guys' channels are in the link below. If you rewatch this later on, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, do all that good stuff. And we'll catch you very soon with another top 5 of something in the near to distant future. But until then, thanks for coming, guys. Have a good night.
Catch you later.
Thanks for having me. Bye, everyone.